Hello, this is Pat Coakley, and I don't know what episode this is, but it's Voices from My Bunker 2020. And I started it as a way of just communicating with people about what 2020 has been like for them. And today I'm going to introduce you to Jay, who's a 35-year-old neighbor of mine with a wife and 4-year-old beautiful child. And his journey is very interesting to me because it started out, unlike myself, who was terrified right from day one of the quarantine. He took several months to realize, in his words, what a natural calamity this was. So I'm happy to introduce you to Jay. He's a operations manager for a large hotel chain. So his experience with humanity is quite different than mine, being holed up here for days and months at a time. I'm happy to introduce you to Jay.
I probably figured it would be like a swine flu or maybe a general flu that usually happens, during the time of, when we transit from winter to spring and then from summer to fall. So I was like, maybe it's a different kind of a fever that people are getting, and, it's probably lasting a little longer than its usual time.
Okay.
And
yep.
That's what my thought was, though I was reading about it, and there came to a point where I was like, I'm not sure what it is and why it is happening. And, my thought process again for a few months was like, it's not going to last long. It's just a matter of time.
Yep.
Where it is going to, phase out, or, it would just disappear like every other disease. And, the scientists and the doctors in the background would be able to find a solution for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come I go into July, and every day I'm reading about it, and there was so much of negativity that I actually stopped reading about it. And there came, I'd spoken to this about to my wife, that there were phases when I was traveling during this time, and I would feel that when I'm going to sleep that it would be my last night, that I wouldn't get up the next day. That's when it started kicking me that this is something really serious.
Wow.
And this was probably, June end or July, wherein, the company that I worked for, it started, we used to have conference calls every alternate day about this, and how we are trying to take care, how the business is affecting, and, what we are trying to do to stop those losses, and, whatever we could on our end. And, it's like a natural calamity, right? Pandemic, you don't have control over it.
Right.
And, again, thinking about how serious it is, while that thought process was, it's not going to last long, I was also thinking, it's a human thing, right?
Yep.
It is, people will come out of it, and people will come out stronger, and people would even start going out more often than to what they were doing before, because, it's like getting out of the prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you have to stay home for a period of time? Because you usually are traveling back and forth with your job.
I was practically home, I think April and May. I started going back, easing out a little bit of travel from June 1st. The exposure to things outside was limited. Besides what media is saying in news, and
Yes,
which I
yes.
always feel it is little bit extra compared to what it usually is. Uh,
Right,
so I was like,
right.
it's just a media hype. Maybe there is, political connection to this, and too many things. Until I started traveling, and I
Yes.
uh, started speaking to people and meeting people whose family has been affected, or so it was one of my co-workers who at one of the hotel she was perfectly fine, and her husband used to work in a hotel too, with a different brand. And it was Sunday, and she called me that she had to go and get herself tested and get her husband tested as well, is because someone in their hotel has been tested positive. Now, that's when it really scared me, because I had been to that hotel, and I'm sitting home with my family, and it's basically like when you stay at a hotel and you think about a bed bug and how much that could scare you if you bring that along at home. So this was even 10 to 20% more, because you could die. Basically, that's how serious the situation in the beginning was. And that's when it struck me really hard, because her husband got tested positive while the lady who was working at my hotel didn't. But we had to tell her to quarantine also for 14 days. And then apparently, while she was quarantined for 14 days, I think she had to go get herself tested again before she came to work. And she got tested positive.
Oh, wow.
So that's when it changed, my thought process of COVID actually changed
Yes,
right there.
yes. Yep. I've heard this before too from people who, because it
Yeah.
seemed sort of like a news event on TV, sort of abstract. And then
Yeah.
when you actually can put a name and a face to it, it's an entirely different experience. Wow.
Yes, absolutely. And, now that, we are already in September, I still see people around not wearing masks. And when you still tell them, because our brand that I work for, we are pretty strict as far as you have to wear masks
Okay.
if you want to enter the
Right.
building. And, when we tell them, if I see someone, I tell them, they want to fight about it. They want to argue about it.
Yes, I've seen this.
But, to each to its, yeah. But again, I always say to each to its own.
Yeah.
We have to follow our norms, because, if I'm safe, people working around me are safe, and my family
Right.
is safe.
Right. So have you found yourself in
But
a position of having to tell someone that they have to put on a mask or else they can't stay at the hotel? That must be really awkward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've had a woman, a very well-educated woman, checking in my hotel, and it was in August, second week of August, and I had to actually tell her to leave.
Oh, boy.
My friend did was tell her, ma'am, we would appreciate if you wear your mask, because that's the hotel policy.
Right.
And I don't know if she was not ready to hear that. Did not get up on the bright side that day. I'm not sure, but she flipped, and she flipped to an extent that I had to literally call cops.
Wow.
To get her out from my building.
Wow.
Because her thing is, she has all the rights not to wear masks, and nobody can force her. It's okay if you put the sign, but there's no way we can refuse her service if she's not wearing masks.
Right.
And, all I had to tell her, ma'am, I'm sorry, we won't be able to serve you.
Right.
As simple as
Right.
that, right?
Right.
Our brand is pretty clear. If you don't feel comfortable, do not serve
Right.
anymore.
Right. And this was
And we had to tell
August
her
in
that.
Massachusetts.
It was
So,
in
and was
Massachusetts.
she a Mass resident?
She was a
Wow. So
Massachusetts.
she knew that we were in very serious situation here. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, it was pretty clear. I would have told, I also wanted to tell her, ma'am, since you're a Mass resident, until July, we were not even allowed to rent rooms to local. If you have a Mass address and you're staying in a Mass hotel, you don't need to be in the hotel. You could go back home because you have a local address.
Oh, wow.
But yes.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
gee.
you are a local and if you're checking in into a Massachusetts hotel and you have a Mass address, we were not allowed to check anyone in, and it was as per the state law.
Really? Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Wow.
But still, she wanted to fight over a mask. I won't wear the mask.
Right. Wow. And Jay, I mean, I don't know you all that well, but I certainly know you as a neighbor. This has to be really uncomfortable to have this sort of situation where you have
Oh,
to
yeah.
draw a line and someone has a meltdown and is irrational.
Yeah. I think now that we are in September, people are coming to terms that they have to wear a mask. If you want to feel more safe, wear the gloves. I understand wearing a mask is uncomfortable after some
Yeah.
time, but it is better to be safe than to be sorry,
Yeah.
right? You don't know how many people could get infected, and we don't know whether it is by covering the mask you're able to prevent it or you're not going to be able to prevent it. But there's so many things in the air, right? You have to sanitize your hand. You wash your hand for 20 seconds by saying Mississippi 1,
Right.
Mississippi
Right.
2. There's so many things to it, right? There's so many myths. There's so many, every person has a different way of dealing with it. I respect everyone's process, whatever makes them comfortable, as far as, we can prevent it, to bring it to ourselves and to our family and to the other people that we know.
Jay, have you found out something about yourself in this period of time that you didn't realize? Or because it sounds like the conditions of your job really have changed in very
Yes.
substantial ways.
Yes. So, one good thing about this lockdown was, firstly, I think it in a positive way. I'm married for 7 years and I have a 4-year-old
Right.
son. This 2 months that I was home, I think that 60 days was a good quality time
Yep.
that I was able to spend with my family, even though I was working from
Yep.
home. And when I sit and think that 60 days, I think in 7 years, I don't think I would have spent so much time with my wife
Yes.
that I did in the 60
Yes.
days. So, you see the things on a brighter side is, I got to know her more and came to know a few more other things that I probably would have overlooked in past 7 years due to the fast-paced life that we
Yeah.
have. And, what I learned about myself is, I have this habit, I'm a big foodie. So, I got into the kitchen and I started cooking.
Oh.
So something about Asian men, right? We are not used to cooking.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of strange is because, our parents, they spoil us. Like I'm 35 now. This was the first time I actually entered kitchen to cook something.
Really?
Yeah. So, we are not used to it. It's something that doesn't come automatically to us. Again, I'm born and brought up in India where labor is cheap. So we have maids at
Yep.
home. So it was, it never came a point where I had to enter a kitchen and cook something for myself. When I moved to America at the age of 24, I was so much busy working that I was like, if I spend so much time cooking, I'm going to mess on to that money, right? So if I'm
Yes.
spending an hour to cook, I would rather work because 10 years ago, I think, it was, $10 an hour, $11
Right.
an hour.
Right.
And that was a lot of money for an immigrant to lose. That's why, I would rather just go grab a foot-long sandwich and eat half at lunch and half at dinner.
Wow. Well, that makes ultimate sense. And because really cooking does take time. And
Yeah, and it's a biggest joke that that's going around in social media that cooking a meal takes easy around an hour and two, but to eat that food, you're done in 10 minutes.
I know.
So why waste time, right? And everything is easily available outside. And that time you were 24, you don't think too much about your health and everything because you know that you're going to burn it out.
So what did you start cooking for the first time at 35?
So the first thing that I really cooked, again, I don't eat much of Indian food like people around me know about it. So the first thing I think I baked was, it was chicken fajita pastry. So basically it was a chicken fajita puff.
And you made the pastry from scratch?
I made the pastry from scratch and I made the fajita mix from scratch. Everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a process. I had to take some help from my wife in regards to making the pastry, but I was able to make everything.
Oh my word. And how did it taste?
Oh, I think it did taste great, and my wife approved it, so I'm sure it was good.
Now, did you get on the phone and tell your mother that you had just cooked
About what?
your chicken fajita pastry?
Yeah, my mother loved it that I started cooking because my mom is completely in favor that you should do what your country demands, right? In America, if you have to cook to help your wife ease out on things, you have to cook. It is as simple as that because we both are working. We don't have any domestic help at home. So you have to, if she is going out to get the money as well, so you have to help in the kitchen. As in, it cannot be a burden on one person.
So have you continued the cooking?
I have not continued the cooking, but I've been grilling a lot.
Okay.
So I marinate the meat and everything. Yes, I do that, and I would grill outside. But have I gone into the proper kitchen and cooked a meal? No, but I've made few things here and there, but I've moved myself into more of the barbecue side.
Okay.
I would marinate meat and, we would grill and eat outside. It's something that I like doing it in summer.
And you didn't do that much of it before?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Because that's a really American thing, that grilling. Guys in their grill.
As in, I think I loved it. In fact, I'm planning, I'm not sure if I would, but I'm planning to make some turkey, we've got some turkey burgers, so I think I'll grill that and put it on a bun and have that for dinner.
Okay. So that's a real addition to your life that you don't mind at all with.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think it's a very stress reliever or stress buster for me that I could go in the kitchen and, bake something or grill something, spend time with my 4-year-old son, maybe teach him a bit and, try playing a sport with him and introduce him to different sports, because it's something that I really want him to do, is play one sport professionally in his school, college, or if he can carry forward would be great. Yeah.
Well, I think he's going to be a model, honestly.
He's going to be
I
a
do.
model.
He is the cutest kid I've ever seen, really.
Thank you. He is really cute, and I think he's very talkative.
Isn't he really? Yeah,
okay.
he is. Well, tell me a little bit about your mom, because your mom is in Mumbai, is it?
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about her experience with COVID and impacting India, because obviously India's in the news, unfortunately, for having quite a time with this.
So, my mom went back, I think. She's usually here with me for every summer for 6 months, 6 to 7 months. And, she usually comes around April and is always back home by September. So this was the first time in probably 11 years that I have been in America. It's the first time that she is not with me during the summertime. Wow. So, she comes during the time of Mother's Day and she leaves after my wife's birthday. That's usually her time.
And I would often run into her. She was a great walker, and I would see her walking with Sage or by herself. Yeah. And she's a very happy, outgoing woman too.
Yeah. She keeps herself busy, and in India she has a great social life. It's kind of hard to get in touch with her. She's like that celebrity mom. I text her. I always feel I have to text her to check is she free to talk, because she has her friends, then she has family, then cousins, then she goes for prayer meetings, and so she's very socially active within the community as well.
So how has this impacted her?
It has impacted her in such a way that she has accepted, with her, she is one woman, she would accept anything gracefully. She accepted that, this is the new normal. They have to wear masks. They cannot socialize. Believe it or not, she's not gone out of her apartment, and it's been almost 6 months.
Really? Not gone out?
Yes. Not gone out. The only thing that she has done in 6 months of going out is basically she would go outside the apartment. We have this big hallway between the two apartments, and she would use that hallway space to take her walks. She doesn't even go down in the building or complex to take walks or anything. She has, decided that, she doesn't feel comfortable and she's not going to do it.
Wow, Jay. Wow. Now,
so, initially when COVID happened, when I wasn't taking it seriously, but she was, I would call and check on her. Oh, are you home or are you going out? She's like, no, I'm not going to go out. I'm at home. So, I made this habit to make sure I check on her every day, even though I never took that thing so seriously, but to check on her if she's home or she's out. Because it's kind of hard, right? Someone who's socially so active.
Oh my gosh.
And who steps out every day has not gone anywhere since past 6 months.
Now, did her friends also restrict themselves like she, or is she on one end of the continuum?
No, as in everyone. I think people in India, especially in Bombay, they take things pretty seriously there. Because of the population, and the younger generation of the country, right? The education level is way higher compared to, if I compare it to America, I think the qualification of every individual in India, it would be way higher to an American.
Okay.
Now again, if you have that qualification and you're well educated and you're well versed with things, you would make sure that your parents also don't go out, because in India still, how much ever grown up the child is, they prefer to stay with parents.
Okay. So she's been inside her building and her apartment for 6 months without seeing friends. Not even social distancing kind of get-togethers?
No, not even
wow.
social distancing. All they have done is, they have had Zoom parties, they have Zoom drinking sessions.
Yep.
They have Zoom, whatever related to Zoom, they would have done that. But
and is she someone adept with technology? Would Zoom have been a problem for her to set up? And
yes, so she's not that tech savvy, but once we help her out the first time and we show her how to do it, I think then she is absolutely comfortable using the technology.
Wow, I'm impressed with her. Wow. And you're not surprised that she's been able to adapt to this, it sounds like.
No, about her adaptability, I'm not surprised, but for her to, make sure that she doesn't step out of the house for 6 months, that I'm kind of surprised, is because I've not seen her doing it for a long time. And, there are times where, we as kids would get frustrated, especially when I'm here. And if I want to talk to her, she would say, can you call me back in 15, 20 minutes? I'm on another call, or there's someone home visiting us, or maybe, she's in her prayer meeting, or maybe she's with her friends playing cards, or, whatever they do.
Wow.
So, I'm kind of proud that she hasn't stepped out for 6 months.
Wow, I would be too. So you really, I know you always loved her and respected her, but it sounds like this period of time has shown you a depth to her that even you didn't know she had.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. And has your wife noticed a similarity in approach to this situation among her friends and family?
Among her friends, because yes, they all live here, so she has noticed that. About the family part, I think, they come from a different part of India, which is a northern part of India. Her parents have maintained social distancing, but made sure, there are on and off, if there's get-together, they were okay going there. Because when you talk about northern part of India, right, the approach over things there is more casual compared to, if you compare that to Bombay.
Okay.
But yeah, they have maintained their social distancing, and they have met family members in and out. But my wife has not met any of her friends. In fact, one of my friends friends from India is planning to visit New York and Boston, so we are still debating if he can come and stay with us, or maybe he has to stay at the hotel. It depends on what my wife says, but I just want to make sure everyone is comfortable if he is staying at home.
Now, how does he get to fly even to New York and Boston? Because I thought they were restricting flights.
So, they have open flights. They are planning to open flights from September 15th.
Oh.
But there's a condition to it, I think, wherein you have to quarantine yourself for 14 days before you board the flight.
Okay.
And you have to test negative.
So they test.
And then when you land, I think the immigration officer would ask you for the COVID test.
Gotcha.
And they would test you here. And I think they have to test themselves here. I'm not sure about it. But they definitely have to test back home before they board the flight in order to prove that they have quarantined and, their COVID test is negative.
Okay. Jay, do you ever remember a period in your life like this? In terms of one
No.
single thing totally upending everything?
No. I've had conversations with my elders in my family who were born probably around 1960, 65. They've said it's the first time that they are seeing something
Okay.
like this.
Yeah.
There is nothing that has happened so severe that the whole world, we hear about, terrorism activities, but that is, if that happens, it happens and demolishes that particular country. But this is like the whole world coming down. The economy comes down together.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you look out your office window or your car window as you drive home, are you hopeful or worried about the future?
See, I'm not worried. I'm sure, we human beings would probably overcome this as well. Things would not be the same the way it is supposed to be. Maybe mask would become part of our life, or maybe sanitizing and washing hands and basic things that we are any which way supposed to do will be given more emphasis. Mask will become part of a daily outfit, I guess.
Yes. But with respect to your work, your wife's work, Sage getting a education in an actual school, do you think those issues will be very different in a year than they are now, or do you think we'll have adapted to the restrictions and just go on with it, with the masking and the sanitizing and whatnot?
So the masking, sanitizing, I think will probably be part of our life for the longest we can think. As far as kids going to school, I'm a firm believer that for a child to get proper education, he has to go to school. Zoom or technology, I'm still not, accepted the fact of a child in kindergarten to learn things through Zoom. Or maybe even higher grades, right? When you go to school, it is a different approach. You learn different things. You meet your friends, and you learn few good things. You learn few bad things, which are part and parcel of life. And then, what you like, you carry forward. What you don't like, you leave it back. And if you're doing something wrong, parents find out, and they teach you and make sure that you're on the correct path. So I personally believe they should go back to school effective next year, maybe spring, or maybe next fall. But kids need to go back to school as soon as possible, because education is different when a teacher is physically present in front of you compared to seeing a teacher making you go through notes and the stuff making you go.
Sage is 4 right now, right?
Yeah.
So if he were beginning kindergarten, for example, this year, September 2020, I don't exactly know what the Franklin school system is doing for the kindergarten and younger grades. Would you and your wife want him to be going to school at this point in the whole coronavirus?
So, he goes to ECDC, which is the early care, which is like a pre-K in
Yep.
Franklin. He was a full-time student. He used to go Monday to Friday, 9 to 1 until COVID happened and he stopped going March 17th because they discontinued
Right.
everything. But, now they have changed it wherein they have given us different options. And, we did discuss about it at home and we were like, I think it is fine if he goes for 2 days and at least he'll get that exposure. He will learn something new. And he has to wear a mask. Teachers are there. They know they have to make them wear masks. And they will do their best to make sure that kids are wearing
Yep.
masks. It's 9 to 1. They had 15 kids at one time. Now they have 7. So I think it's fine. So we have decided that he goes to school from September 21st and he goes for 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and it's 9 to 1. Like I said, I want him to go because I'm sure when he goes outside, you learn two new things. While you're sitting at home, there's not much that you can get exposed to.
Well, you know what, Jay, I so appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I must say, in listening to you, I have a feeling you and your mother have something in common. And that is, I'm sure there are many other things, but her ability to adapt and your ability to adapt seem to be genetically coded because that is for sure what you have done with this situation. And your mother certainly has done it. And, I look forward to the day when I see her walking again with Sage, and hopefully that will not be too far away.
Yeah, hopefully, if flights open back and, she can quarantine for 14 days and, follow the protocol that United States of America have put in place, then hopefully, I think I'm in talks that maybe, October 1st week, if she is agreeing to come, she's more than happy to come here.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to end on that note because it makes me smile.
Now that.
Every time I do an interview, I'm just astonished at how much courage people have. And, I think it's somewhat of a cliche, but I guess they have cliches because they're largely true. That, ordinary people can be capable of extraordinary things. And when I think of Jay's mother not leaving her building for 6 months, I'm like, wow, what would I be like? I don't know, but I think I'm going to ask Jay for his mother's number and she'll be our next interview. But at any rate, I always feel more hopeful about life and talking to people who are fighting the fight and dealing with life's decisions as Jay and his wife are, and trying to make sense out of things that seem just downright evil to me. And they're maintaining a daily life that is producing a very happy child. And so I just thank Jay and look forward to maybe talking with his mom in Bombay. That sounds very exciting. I don't know how long that flight is from Bombay to New York to Boston. I'd have to be on an IV of Ativan, probably stretched out unconscious. But www.patcoakley.com, PATCOAKLEY. It's my archive of blog posts going back to 2008, as well as where this podcast is posted whenever I have a new interview. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Don't do anything stupid. Because I know some of you are doing stupid things, all right? Over and out.